Hello, and welcome back to Firesense Gaming. My name is Ben, and today we're going to continue on with Suzerain. The last time out, we vetoed the workers' rights bill, we pissed off our wife, and most importantly, we created the secret police. So today we're just going to kind of pick up where we left off. Looks like we got 4 newspapers and 2 reports. So I'm going to start with reports. From Whole Sword, General Staff commends the administration. The General Staff convened at Camp Strongarm. That name's a little on the nose, but I like it. A session much shorter than usual concluded with a positive military analysis of Swordland's field capabilities. Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, made a public press statement praising the administration and its efforts to strengthen the most important branch of the government, the military. All staff generals co-signed a letter of support to the Reign administration. Nice. Alright, from Deer, BFF bombs police station. In a treacherous attack, the BFF has bombed a police station Deer. Initial casualties are reported at 3 officers dead and 22 injured. Perpetrators have escaped into the Gumran Mountains near Suzerain, and a search was started to bring them to justice. The border guard has been notified of the attackers in case they try to flee to Valen. The Workers' Party of Bludia condemned the incident. Fantastic. Alright, check out the news. So we got 2 here from Lockhaven Times. This one just talking about that attack we just got briefed on. Explosion of Deer, 3 killed and 22 wounded. A bomb attack on a police station Deer has killed 3 officers and injured 22 others, officials say. No group has claimed responsibility for the attack. The police of Deer said militants from the British Freedom Front, or BFF, were likely behind the attack, and reported that several militants also fired at the officers as they tried to escape the fires of the explosion, a treacherously pre-planned ambush. There's been a wave of unrest in Swordland for the last couple of months. These attacks seem to suggest that the racial tensions in Burge have also increased to very dangerous levels. Which raises questions about how the situation should be handled. The Workers' Party of Bludia has condemned the incident, adding that the BFF does not reflect the views or the cultures of the Bludish people. Akazi has called on both sides to avoid violence, but stressed that Swordland has the right to defend itself against attacks by Bludish rebels. Alright, and detonation. Swordland in a tough spot. Current reports from the Ministry of Economy are pointing to a deep underlying problem with Swordland's economical standing. Debt. It appears that the current ventures to get out of recession put a considerable dent in the reserves. Although the comments from the administration state the situation is only temporary, that remains to be seen. Our economic advisors commented on the matter, saying that the current state of the administration is hiding the extent of the debt. This, of course, brings up the question, is Swordland turning into a debt nation? Cool, yeah. Alright, then we got 2 more here from Geopolitico. Let's see. Smolak condemns Arkazian soldiers in Lesbia. Roklowitz Valen. Vazek President Viktor Smolak on Thursday criticized the Lesbian government for bringing Arkazian soldiers close to the borders of Valen. Last month, Prime Minister Alvarez and President Walker agreed on the construction of several military bases in Lesbia that would station ATO soldiers. With the arrival of the first Arkazian soldiers to Lesbia this week, Valen's stance has become increasingly hostile. In his speech on Thursday, Smolak said President Walker has succeeded in spreading Arkazian imperialism to eastern Maricopa, which will have consequences for every one of us in the region. ATO is clearly expanding its influence in our region using Lesbia. We must be careful, said President Smolak, warning the neighboring nations of Magnolia and Sword to be prepared for future crises. And Chancellor Hagel condemns military buildup in Lesbia. In the press conference on Wednesday, Chancellor Hagel of Volkswagen condemned Arkazi for building a military base on the Ravnas Island. In his statement, Arkazi's action on the Ravnas Island is a provocative move that's undermining the peace and stability in the region. It is also threatening Volkswagen's national security. However, Volkswagen is not a country to be bullied so easily. We and the entire CSP coalition will correspond in force if Arkazi does not withdraw from the island. Alright, some nice Cold War rhetoric. I love it. Alright, let's move on to our next story beat. Discussions of changes to the tax system. That sounds absolutely thrilling. We were at the top floor of the Business Council building, which had a great view of the beautiful Lockhaven. I looked outside from the tall glass windows. The Marking Sea stretched as far as the eye could see, and it was dotted with many ships towards the horizon. They were mostly cargo ships carrying precious goods in and out of Swordland. Tracing back the paths of the ships, I looked at the harbor. Lockhaven was home to one of the largest harbors in the entire continent. Many dockyard workers were loading and unloading containers. Work never stopped here. The door opened. Simon, Mikhail, and Edith entered the meeting room. Mr. President? Mr. President, it's so nice to see you again. Good afternoon, Mr. President. It's great to see you all again. Simon put down his bag on the table and started collecting his documents while the others slowly took their seats. Mr. President, before we start, I'd like to mention some rumors I heard. Vetoing the recent Workers' Rights Act is welcomed by a lot of business owners. The first section about the minimum wages would have been very damaging to many corporations. I had the same. A good decision, I'd say, especially during a recession. I didn't want to hamper our businesses in their employment drive. You've done the right thing. Simon waited patiently. Once everyone was ready, he adjusted his glasses. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank everyone here for that hard work on tax system reform. That was a really poorly read sentence. We all know how complicated our current system is, and this work wouldn't be possible without you. He turned to me. The ultimate goal here is to end the recession. Before we move ahead and start formulating a plan, we need to determine our direction, Mr. President. We have a few possibilities as a result of the work we've done so far. We can increase, maintain, or decrease taxes for large corporations. I believe some of us in the room have a few strong opinions about this. In parallel, we can increase, maintain, or decrease the taxes for small and medium businesses. Let's start with the large corporations, and then we'll move on to small businesses. Well, what's the outcome if we increase the tax for large corporations? Simply put, if we increase taxes, we'll have more government budget to spend, which may come in handy. On the other hand, it's not directly helping us revitalize the economy. Our government is already in debt. There's maybe a way to get out of that debt. I do believe that there's one way to get out of recession is through the trade and economic contribution of large corporations. Increasing their taxes will churn the money. I'll go a step further. Increase their taxes will have disastrous results, making an enemy of them. Trust, Mr. President, nobody wants to make an enemy of them. It goes both ways, Mr. Robin. Yeah, of course. Okay, well, let's go through all the options. Why not? What if we decrease the taxes for large corporations? Yeah, it's not an option at this point. Our state is broke. We're barely functioning with help of our taxes. We could balance it by increasing taxes to small businesses. I see. I'm not sure if that's a good idea with the current state of our economy. I think this is a great idea. Me too. You'd have the money on your good side on top of solving the recession crisis, Mr. President. Okay, I'm not sure how that would work, but it's okay. That's probably why I'm not an economist, but it's alright. They better try to stay on my good side. Is there a downside to keeping things the way they are, other than the fact that we're clearly hemorrhaging money? I'm of the opinion that if we don't make any changes, nothing will change. So to stop the recession, we need to do something. I think so too. Agreed. Well, what does everyone think we should do? I don't think we do anything at this point, although I would prefer to decrease in taxes. It doesn't seem to be the best option. Our international trade is driven mostly by the products of these corporations. They're the backbone of our economy. Exactly. An increase should be out of the question. These companies are the backbone of our economy and are way out of the recession. Whatever. I'm ready to make a decision. Very well. I'm all ears. Alright, this guide says to increase taxes on everybody, actually. Yeah, increase taxes on everybody. So, increase taxes for large corporations. You're making a mistake. This is going to have outrageous effects down the road. Enough. The president has made his choice. Well then, I have taken note of our action and put it to implementation as soon as possible. Simon opened his briefcase and swapped out the stack of papers he had in front with another stack. Now let's move on to small and medium businesses. What's the outcome if we increase the taxes for them? They're the backbone of our economy, and they're comprised of most of the regular people. If we start demanding more money from them in taxes, it might cause public to harbor ill will towards the government. On the other hand, we need to get out of debt one way or another. This can be a solution for sure. I think increasing taxes for these small corporations is a good way to earn some extra capital so the government can give it back to people at due time. In the long run, increasing taxes for small and medium businesses would make people happier with the services government provides. You might be right. Well, what if we decrease their taxes? It should be helpful in curbing the recession for sure. Of course, that will come with the cost of losing some of our government budget. It is risky when we have no money left, and we still have loans to pay. What about the downside? Yeah, Sortland needs change to get out of recessions, but the current state of the economy is in shambles. There's not much change we can do about taxes. Okay, well, I guess I'm ready to make my decision. Very well. Increase the taxes for small and medium businesses. Very well. Take another note. We'll look into how to go about implementing these changes. Well then, thank you everyone. That'll be all for today. Good work, I guess. They left the meeting room. I decided to stay a bit longer. I went by the windows again and kept watching the sea in silence for some more time. Wow, got 7 newspaper reports. And it looks like just one update. what's some other things here? Alright, so journal entry is just that we increase taxes on everybody. Country overview. Yep, tax increases for small, large, and medium businesses. That causing red things on both ends. So that's not good. But the guide said to go ahead and do it. So we'll be able to make some changes later on that will counteract the taxation on the smaller companies. And we're going to arrest Walter Tusk at some point anyway, so who cares about him? Alright, so for our report from Rumburg, Queen Beatrice Livingston calls Swordland a threat to world peace. Queen Beatrix Livingston appeared on TV to call Swordland not just a threat to peace east of Maricopa, but a threat to peace in the entire world. She condemned the riots and police violence in Swordland, also expressing her worries about the direction Swordland is headed. She urged the Rumburgian army to secure the southern border, citing violent incidents in northern Swordland. That's nice. We'll deal with you later, lady. Alright. There's a ton of newspapers here, so first off in Whole Sword Post, tax increase for small and medium corporations. In order to end their session, the administration has announced new changes to the tax system. As per the information provided by the Ministry of Economy, the new changes include a tax increase of 10%, bringing the total to 45% for small and medium-sized corporations. President Rain has approved the tax reform. The changes are expected to come into effect immediately. Alright, Lockhaven Times. Young Swords denies allegations. The vice president of the Young Swords Cultural Centers made an announcement today denying having ties to terror attacks. I or our cultural organization pose no threat to the national security of Swordland or to any other foreign country or state, he said. We have not and do not plan on engaging in acts of terror or violence. He also denied that the murderer of Bernard Circus was working for the Young Swords, saying that the murderer was just a lost patriot who probably worked alone. The vice president said he believes authorities misunderstood his expressed desire to be a martyr for Swordland, which was written in the entrance of his office. Young Swords is not a terrorist organization, will not bow down to fake accusations without any evidence, he said. Blaming a whole organization for the actions of an individual who is allegedly a member is absurd. And in a completely unrelated matter here, Torn Hill School wins a war. The National School Rankings have announced the results for the 1955 school metrics. Surprisingly, in the category of primary and secondary education, the Torn Hill School surpassed all others with the highest average results achieved in the students' performance, discipline, facilities, hygiene, and staff happiness categories. The NSR committee gave an award to the principal. Education experts believe that the principal and head teachers excelled in taking responsibility for their duties, which led to better performance in many aspects. Upon closer inspection, the Lockhaven Times editorial team found out about how much delegation occurred in the staff that even included diligent teenagers to improve and maintain the operations of the school. Interesting. Alright. Got two from the Radical here. Red Youth calls for peace. Earlier today, Johann Gosmisch, one of the leaders of the Red Youth, spoke to the public and condemned the opportunistic looting and violence taking place in cities across Swordland, saying it is not being done in the name of Bernard Circus. Denied terrorist allegations, condemned the attacks, saying that the Red Youth has no connection to the violence. He accused the police of trying to sway the public opinion against socialism and legal millennialist groups such as the Red Youth. Some people are trying to incite violence to take away the meaning of these peaceful protests, said Gosmisch, warning the protesters about inside people trying to exploit the situation. He also called for peace, saying that the justified and meaningful protests have already lost their course and started benefiting a select group of people. And Rain attacks small and medium businesses. When will this end? The Ministry of Economy has just announced a tax increase for small and medium corporations, bringing the total to 45%. President Rain's priorities are now crystal clear. Instead of siding with his people, he decided to target and attack smaller corporations to make his gains supposedly end their recession. How will this end the recession? The answer is, it won't. The real question we all need to ask is, what is Rain getting out of it? Nice. Alright, economists. Large corporation taxes are uncalled for. According to the information we've received, the administration has decided to increase taxes for large corporations by 10% to a total of a staggering 45%. This comes as part of tax reforms to stop the recession. We have shown our analysis of the current economic situation many times. The result is clear. Large corporations bring in more money into Swordland, and they are the reason the recession is not worse than it already is. This move serves only to weaken the backbone of our economy. We can't help but question President Rain's real intentions with this decision. Well, that one should be fairly obvious. If they bring in more money, then we should tax them more. That one's obvious and stupid, but that's okay. Economists are also kind of, well, stupid, so it's fine. Anyway, Last but not least, we got one from Geopolitico. Smolak threatens new military incursions targeting BFF. Vesic President Viktor Smolak has threatened to launch military operations in northern Valen, close to the borders of Sword and Lesbia, against the British rebel group, the BFF, which Rokovitz considers to be a terrorist organization. In a television interview to Curry Sport for the next month's referendum to extend his presidential powers, Smolak announced that the military is preparing a new internal operation with possible cross-border implications against the BFF. Observers point out that a tough stance against the BFF, which is fighting for minority rights, plays well with Vesic nationalists. Smolak has pledged to eradicate the Blutish groups in Valen, the Democracy Party of Valen, and the militant organization, the Blutish Freedom Front, which is known to operate both in Valen and Sorlin extensively. Such operations are fraught with military risks and the possibility of further exacerbating already tense relations among neighbors, particularly with Sorlin, due to the large number of Blutish minority living close to the borders, as well as the Arkazi-backed Lesbia. Despite risks, some analysis don't rule out such a military operation. Fantastic. Alright. Now, we'll deal with him eventually. Alright, so I guess let's head to that award-winning school and check it out. As part of the planned program, we arrived in Laren to visit middle school. The prestigious Tornhill School is situated close to the suburbs just outside of the city center. The building is flanked by 2 hills, each beautifully dotted with shrubs and flowers. Lucy and Ciara and I got out of our cars and met at the entrance. Our presence had not gone unnoticed. Apart from our guards, there are at least 10 reporters following us around.
Well, that must be the principal. Right this way, sir.
Yeah, excuse me. The principal is a man of short stature with a bushy mustache and had a pair of glasses. He approached us quickly, but was stopped by the security guards. They started patting him down and searching him. I waited for them to finish searching the principal. One of the guards turned to me and nodded. Mr. President, such an honor to meet with you. We shook hands and I turned around and smiled for the cameras. Reporters instantly snapped a few photos. Welcome to our humble school. It's good to be here. Excellent. You must be Mr. Gallard.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And Miss Walder, so good of you to come all the way out here. Thank you. At the entrance, the school's motto is inscribed on the wall in giant letters. Instretten sis agnet... I have no idea how to pronounce any of this. Agninikar avgerena ins ola almergwaltena ins ola mexis. Close enough. Education is a premise of progress in all societies, in all families. We walked through the gates. There are many students lined up in front of the stairs to the main building. The school band started playing as we entered. All the students immediately snapped to attention and turned to me. Looks more like a military institution than a school. Exactly, that's what we pride ourselves on. Discipline is the utmost importance in our school. Little discipline never hurt anyone. Ciara bristled. Up to a point, perhaps. Look at these kids. I can assure you that our students are very well educated. In fact, our school is one of the top 10 middle schools in the entirety of Sultan. Now we watch the students take their daily student oath. A boy and a girl went up to the stage and grabbed their microphones. The students turned to them. I am a sword. My strength lies in my blood. I will respect honorable elders and I will protect the young. My life belongs to Sorthan now and belongs to it forever. I will always follow the guiding light. Of Colonel Soul and the great swords, Margaret's Corne, Vector and Sista. I started clapping loudly. Everyone joined, also very confused why these kids had terrible voices.
Words to remember.
What? No need remembers it after they graduate. If you wish to follow me, we'll take a look at one of our classrooms. Through the hallways, we made our way to classroom 7A. As soon as I entered, the whole classroom rose up and snapped to attention. At ease. The students sat down. The same boy and girl walked up to us. These are our top students in our top class. This here is my son. The boy came before me and saluted me like a military officer. Tell Mr. President what you want to be. Mr. President, I will be a general, sir. I'm ready to sacrifice for my country and you, sir. Good. You make a fine soldier in the future. At ease, General. Thank you, sir. The principal squeezed his son's shoulders, and the boy looked up and smiled at his father. He patted him on the back and sent him off to his seat. The cameras flashed. This is simply ridiculous. You're raising soldiers here, not students. I am so sorry. I'll immediately perform disciplinary actions. How about you, young lady? What do you think about this? She is our top student in the school. Her excellent grades are I didn't ask you. She bent down and gently addressed the young student. What do you think about your school, just between us girls? sick of having to knit and sew with the boys in science and chemistry. I'm smarter than all of them. Why do I take these stupid handicraft classes?
Shush, do you know who you talk?
Shut up and let her speak. Ciara's presence emboldened the girl. She went on. My math and reading score is the best in school, but they won't let me take the class I want. She's got a girl. I want to be a scientist, not some soldier's wife. We need more people like you in this country. I applaud your determination. We need more than words. We need action. Concrete action. We need to protect girls like this. Cameras flashed once again. I looked around the classroom and saw a large portrait of Colonel Soul. An excellent portrait of Colonel Soul. Very lifelike.
Thank you. Well then, unfortunately we're almost out of time. We have other meetings to attend to today. Thank you for the warm welcome.
Mr. President, Lucien, please go ahead. I would like to speak to the girl alone. Thank you for the tour.
Thank you for visiting our school, sir. Come on, class. 1, 2.
All students in the classroom yelled, but the boy whom I met was the loudest. Morgana Vescore. Vectrin Sista. After another round of photos, we departed. Sweet. Alright, check out the news here. Both from the Whole Sword Post. President visits school in Laren. Middle school in Laren received a special visit from President Rain and Minister of Education, Mrs. Walda. Students and staff at Thornhill School, one of the 5 most prestigious schools in East Swordland, welcomed the special visitors on Thursday morning. President Rain had expressed his wish to visit the successful Thornhill School and spent the morning talking to staff and students, joining with lessons and hosting questions and answer sessions with the students. Through this visit, Thornhill is delighted to have had an opportunity to represent the fantastic job that all staff members have been doing. And Assembly talks about prayer language. Today, Kasara Keemner, the leader of NFP, has proposed a Swordish Prayer Language Act to the Assembly. The proposed bill aims to standardize the language of prayer to Swordish in the entire Swordland. Prayer language has always been a controversial topic, as most religious ceremonies in the Burge region, where most of the British population resides, conduct the prayers in British. The proposal has caused heated discussions between the Blues MPs and NFP, resulting in Mansoon Lee, the leader of the independent MPs, leaving the Assembly in protest. Brilliant. Okay. Let's see. So it looks like we just have one more report here from Whole Sword. Increased police budget restores stability. Recent increases in the police budget has helped the police forces tremendously in dealing with protests all over the country. Arrests are being made swiftly and quickly while protecting the population. With the current forecast, we're expecting everything to return to normalcy very soon. Alright, that's pretty fantastic. Alright. I guess let's head back to Laren for the briefing on the proposal of education reform. We're still in Laren, staying at a modest guest house for state employees. Ciara set up a meeting with me and Lucien to go over her plans for education reform after our school visit. Lucien was seated across from me at the table, going through documents. Ciara entered the room. After the visit yesterday, I couldn't even sleep thinking about that little boy and girl. I have never been more sure of my intentions to reform our education system. Lucien took off his reading glasses and put them on the table. I don't see what's wrong with our education system. You don't? Can't you look at it objectively and see what's wrong with it? You can't be serious.
Ciara, check your tone.
Would you say that to a man, Lucien? Those students have to repeat the same soul's propaganda every single day. They're being brainwashed at an age when their minds need to be free. On top of that, young girls are denied the same opportunity as boys. They're forced into the role of housewife before they even reach puberty. The only way people like me, Mia, Lilius, Gloria, even your wife were able to escape that is because our families were fortunate and connected enough to be able to educate us outside of the public school system. Is that the kind of country you want your daughter to grow up in? Mr. President, we need to bring change. We need to free the minds of these young people. They are our future. It's fine. Why change it? I don't think my words are getting through to you. Are you really fine with filling the heads of our children with soul's propaganda, with teaching girls like Diana their only value to this country is as vessels for childbearing? You know the words of Arta SVC. You know them better than I do. Education is the premise of progress in all societies and all families. We need to reform our education system, otherwise Swordland's future is bleak. I don't know. The guide here says to just not invest in education reform. Or let me phrase it. To not go through with education reform because we didn't increase the funding. Yeah, since we didn't give them funding, it's going to fail regardless, so let's just not even bother. We have more important matters to think about than education for a bunch of kids. I can't believe it. This will be seen as a huge mistake when people look back. Ciara slumped in defeat. Ciara looked furious. She shook her head slowly. I'm utterly disappointed, especially after yesterday's school visit. I thought it would awaken something in you. She let out a deep sigh.
Now that the decision was made, let's move on.
Very well. Ciara skimmed over her documents before continuing. With no change in budget, the Ministry's left its own devices. We made some tough choices, but still lack additional funds. Therefore, we are investigating if privatizing education would draw enough funds to conduct investments. There is a possibility of privatization having negative side effects. Trust me, I know that. It can increase the cost of quality education, but it's hardly avoidable now anyway.
Private education is inconsistent with our overall economic strategy of the planned economy.
A few minutes of deliberation passed. We can manage it without additional funds. The only reason I want to consider it is to have more money to improve education. So, what's your decision? Nah, keep education solely a matter of the state. We need to prevent interference from private interests. Will do. That should be it for now. I'll get to work and report back later.
This has been a very productive day. I'll be returning to Tulsa.
Yep, see you both later. We dispersed after spending nearly the entire day together. I took a moment simply to breathe the fresh evening air of Laren. I feel calmer here somehow, but I would have to return to the chaos of Soul Swords soon enough. Nice. Alright, let's see. So, country overview. We've got traditional education, which is just an act of policy. Nothing good or bad. Nice. Okay. So, let's head to Whole Sword here. We've got a report. United Cantana launches second satellite. Intelligence reports that United Cantana has successfully launched a second satellite, which has the capability of radio communications. This means that United Cantana radio communications will be able to be transmitted through a satellite for the first time ever, technology that no other country currently possesses. That's kind of cool. Alright, so the next thing was meeting with Gloria Tori, so let's look at the newspapers first. Alright. From the Lockhaven Times. Rain's Reform Committee is all talk, no action. Head of Swordland's main opposition party, People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter, has said President Rain will not be able to keep ruling the country without addressing laws that have negatively affected our democracy, freedoms, and economy. He blamed President Rain for not being open to any discussions about proper democratic reforms. I mean, you haven't asked about discussions yet, you jerk. Richter also criticized NFP leader Sarah Keem for supporting President Rain. We are already not included in every step of the process, but the final direction of the committee showed us that PFJP cannot even be part of this collaboration anymore, said Richter. He also explained his concerns over how NFP was suddenly included in the process and likely had some influence on the draft. Rain's Reform Committee is all talk, no action, said Richter. He criticized the committee for not discussing real issues about our economy. Or our democracy, sorry. And the Radical. Demonstrators arrested. Tens of thousands of demonstrators were driven out from city centers by riot police in the week. According to ground sources, thousands have been detained. The government has still not declared the real numbers or identities of the individuals. The government crackdown on the protests around the country was swift to brought an end to the chaos in major cities such as Whole Sword and Lockhaven. Reports from mayors around the country came in today saying that the protesters are under control and stability will return. Nice. Alright. Yes, let's go meet with Gloria Tori. I arrived at the Grand National Assembly, which is only a 5-minute drive away from the palace. Today, I had a private meeting with Gloria Tori, one of the leading figures of the USP, to get her approval for the proposal. She was also keen in reaching 150 signatures to propose the new constitution, as she had extensive control of our party's conservative and moderate wings. As I walked through the corridors of the Grand National Assembly, I was confronted by my memories of the historic building, despite being a member of Assembly not long ago, and now felt like the distant past. I walked into the left wing of the Assembly, which currently acted as the quarters of the USP. Gloria's office was the first one inside. I knocked on the door and entered. Good morning, Mrs. Tori. Good to see you here, Mr. Rain. It's a small, neatly organized office. There are small figurines, photos, and plants around the place. It had a homey feel, unlike my own Assembly office when I had worked there. On her gesture, I took a seat. The chair was very uncomfortable. I love what you do with the office. She smiled. A woman's touch, they call it. Like men cannot have a sense of tidiness or style, which might actually be true. Anyway, let's keep this simple, Mr. Rain. We both know why we are here. You want me to give you my support. I don't see why the backbone of the USP would support your rush reforms. Don't you realize they go directly against the wishes of the founder of this party and the state? Reforms are not against anyone. It's all in the name of democracy. In the name of democracy? Even though you owe everything to Colonel Sol, I think you never liked him, nor the party he built. How dare you suggest I never liked Sol? I'm a proud Solist. You claim that, Mr. Rain, but the Solists already know who you are working with. Whatever you intend to do, you'll be facing quite the opposition. That's all I can say. You must understand these reforms are a necessity. Let me explain. How? Let's see here. So the guide says reforms are in the name of democracy and the USP. So we need to keep backing the USP. Alright, so let's try this one. The USP is a party that knows how to react in changing times. We must lead the nation into the future. That's for the party to decide, not you. I seriously do not know if the Conservatives would be willing to support you at all. I must say that I like the changes regarding the appointment of ministers. That's one positive aspect. But moving on. It is unbelievable that you are taking away the immunity of the justices. A big mistake. A president that has the power to impeach justices will be very dangerous in the future. We shouldn't damage the separation of powers. This is something I cannot accept. I don't see anything democratic in here, Mr. President, can you? Apparently I can't pronounce democratic. This will benefit the party. I continue to disagree. So, what are you thinking about? Are you ready to make changes to your proposal, or should we keep talking past each other? Okay, so this thing says, don't budge an inch. So, Mrs. Sorry, please try to understand me. It cannot give concessions now. She raised an eyebrow, then took a look at the proposal on her table. Let me give you some advice, Mr. President. Giving yourself the same title as Talking Soul will not make you a hero. You have not earned that title, nor the immunity and the protection it brings. Remove the changes to the Member of Honor laws from the proposal before it becomes public. Let's not damage our party nor your reputation any further. This will only bring you ridicule. There's no way that the Assembly or the Supreme Court will vote for this. Let's see. I should be fine to keep that, so... You might be right, but that will not stop me from trying. I wish you'd join me in this endeavor. You are a stubborn man, but anyway, there's one other way for you to gain my support. Put my name at the top of the list of Supreme Court Justice candidates. In case of a vacancy in the Supreme Court, I want to be appointed. That's it. That's easy. Consider it done. No need to flaunt, Mr. President. I believe I can give you the help you require. She repositioned herself on the chair. Just don't forget, Mr. President, the Conservatives will be expecting a lot from you. I will be expecting a lot from the Conservatives as well. Increasing the threshold to 15% ought to mollify a lot of lifetime USP members. It secures our advantageous position and further consolidates it by leaving other parties out. I can get you the signatures needed for the proposal. I'll talk to the other Conservatives. I hope there won't be any surprises, though, Mr. President. Glad to hear that, Mrs. Tory. Of course, I can't guarantee that all the Conservatives of the party will vote for your constitutional changes. I have serious reservations about privatizing healthcare or the sort of state corporations. One of my faction can change. Okay, well, I had no intentions of privatizing either of those, so I think we're okay. That will depend to some extent on your policies, but the signatures at least are as good as gathered. Let's double check with her just to make sure. Which policies make you concerned? I am concerned about the oligarchs and the state of our economy. I am worried that they may influence you for their own benefit. We expect you to succeed where Alfonso failed in resisting the siren call. If you stop privatizing healthcare, state, or corporations, I doubt I can help you. Alright, well, we're supposed to be going for a planned economy, which I kind of screwed up by giving the first construction project to Walter Tusk's company because I thought I had to. But I'm not going to help them anymore, so we're definitely not privatizing anything. So, don't worry, that won't happen. Good. She stood up. I believe I've made myself clear. Thanks for stopping by, Mr. President. I hope you'll hold your promises. She extended her hand and we for a handshake. Once I shook her hand, she immediately sat back down. But now I need to get back to my duties. If you'll excuse me, Mr. President. I understand. I'll leave you to it. She only responded with a nod as I left her office. The Conservative side was handled, but to get to the 150 signatures I needed, I would still have to deal with Albin and Clobbin and the Reformist wing. I went outside. Serge drove me back to the palace, where I met Lucy and told him about the progress I had made with Gloria. Nice. Alright, well that seems like as good of a spot as any to end it here for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.